Well, at a recent session in the National Assembly, Liberal MNA Mark Tanguay stood up and he was holding in his hands CVs. And these were not CVs of job candidates. They were CVs of children that needed a spot in daycare. And we're finding more and more stories of parents going to extreme measures in order to secure a daycare spot for their child. And there are some people saying, hey, even if you're thinking about having a kid, you got to start now looking for that daycare spot. With more on this, let's go to Yasmine Ghandour, General Director of Orchard House Preschool. Hi, Yasmine. How you doing?
Hi, good morning, Elias. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I should mention Orchard House, you have two locations, right? NDG and the West Island, is that correct?
That's right. Yes, we do.
And the stories that I referenced off the top, parents creating CVs for their children, is this actually happening? Are you seeing this at Orchard House?
Well, we have been seeing not CVs as such, but definitely the equivalent over the last few years, but much more so now. I think that parents are really much more specific in terms of what they're looking for now, that it's come to the pandemic. But certainly parents have really gone to extreme measures to try to get us, to get daycares and to get us to get their attention, for sure.
If I'm a parent and I call you today, Yasmine, and I'm like, hey, I have a 2-year-old and, both of us were going back to work at the office and I need a spot for my child. What do you tell that parent?
You would need a spot for, soon?
Yes, yeah. Let's say,
hope you have. No. You unfortunately, the reality now in Montreal. Certainly, I'm not sure about the rest of the province, but in Montreal, you really do have to start early and put your name on a waiting list very early on.
When you say very early, what are we talking about? We're talking about a young couple, and they haven't even started to have the kid, but they're thinking about it that early?
I'm talking about, a healthy pregnancy. Childbirth is in sight.
Childbirth is in sight. Okay.
Yes.
So how do we fix this problem, Yasmine? How do we get the spots that we need?
Listen, it's so sad, and I'm sure that you've been following, the provincial news, that the spaces certainly are very low. You've got two types of parents, though. You've got the ones who do want access to the CPEs, to the $8 a day service, and those are in shortage. And I think that the Ministère is planning and hoping to construct more. But then on the flip side, you have very few in the private sector that have managed to survive the pandemic. More and more that are closing down, and there are just a few of them who are managing not only to provide quality education, but to really be able to meet the changing needs now with the pandemic. So you're looking at increased staff, you're looking at better ventilation system, you're looking at staff, full-time staff just for cleaning purposes and sanitization. You're looking at smaller group bubbles. All of that really puts its weight on the functioning of a center, and many of them are not able to survive. And that's the reason, really, why the places available are fewer and fewer these days.
Did the government fail this sector? We talk about all the support programs for restaurants and all of these businesses that have been affected by the pandemic. Were they left behind in this? Did we not think enough about daycare?
That's a huge question. I think that they definitely stepped up to try to support the CPE, the subsidized sector, much more than the private sector. The private sector, you will hear on their réseaux sociaux, they have organizations and associations that do grumble that we were not supported in the same way. That's certain. But now, this has been a situation that has been in the works even before the pandemic. And there's a massive, massive shortage of daycare educators. So much so now that they have decreased the demands. It's a little bit similar to the nurses, the headlines with the nurses recently. Now they're allowing daycares to have far fewer qualified educators on staff, which would really bring down the quality of care. Unfortunately, if this is the way that most daycares are going to start functioning, that's going to bring further down the quality of care that's being provided.
We're with Yasmine Ghandour, General Director at
Orchard House.
Orchard House. I was thinking of the pub by the way. It is not the pub. It has nothing to do with Old Orchard. It's Orchard House Preschool. Yasmine, so when it comes to your staffing, are you having trouble getting enough qualified individuals to lead the programs that you want to lead?
It's been a huge struggle, and we didn't want to cut corners, so we've put even more weight on our existing staff. And for that, I think that we will be forever grateful. This is where you see people this past year have really stepped up to the plate. One reality is that parents have not been able to come into the daycare buildings, right, because of restrictions, and so we've had to have, I'm sure many other places have faced the same thing, we've had to have an increase of staff. We've needed to increase our numbers, but at the same time, we've lost older staff members who didn't want to come back since our reopening last June. We've had those who have wanted to go into more administrative roles so that they're not exposed to young children anymore. So we're kind of facing a wave where we need more, we're faced with fewer, and certainly it's finding quality and qualified and someone who's going to fit your culture, not just that they're qualified on paper, but who really understands what a quality early childhood center requires. So that's character as well as qualifications. Those are few and far between. And I would say that I go through 20, 30 CVs. I'll interview maybe 5. Mm-hmm. Maybe find one once in a while that's worthy of, joining the team.
And for you and for Orchard House, right? You've been around, I think, for 18 years now, and you're a non-subsidized private daycare. Now, do you think the government should try and rely on daycares like yours, the private sector? Should they try and come to agreements so that they can help fill some of the gaps here?
I think that they should absolutely see us as partners in there to help to solve their solution, because right now they're so focused on the CPEs and on creating additional CPE centers that the private daycares that are on the verge, on the line between survival and échec and closing down, are they're going to lose out, right? So already they could be part of the solution, but they're not supporting the private centers enough to survive, to help them become partners in this solution.
One last question for you, Yasmine, and I want to end off where we started, and the subject of parents who want to get that spot for their kid in the place that they want. Give the parents listening to us a tip, a recommendation on how, maybe without too much work, you make your child stand out, you make your family stand out so you can get a spot.
Well, we certainly don't want to encourage another, Hollywood admissions scandal, varsity blues story here, especially with children that are this young. This is not about who's better and who stands out. A lot of the time, these children are infants. So it's not about capability and it's not about character. And a real center would tell you that we need to be fluid enough as a center to accept most children, right? Independently. So it's more about seeing if we can collaborate with the parents. Certainly, we receive lots of videos and funny and lengthy anecdotes and pictures about what candidate children are capable of doing. But they're heartwarming, but they certainly won't make anyone push the line or cut the wait list.
Yasmine Ghandour.
So the only thing, yes, I was just going to say, start the process early and make sure that you put your name on a few waiting lists as early as possible.
It was delightful talking to you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Elias. Take care.
Yasmine Ghandour, General Director at Orchard House Preschool.